I thought I had beaten my terrible Pepsi Max addiction. I even made 2 videos about it, proclaiming that I had eliminated this terrible thing from my life. But it's come back, and it's come back even stronger. And you might be thinking, oh, that's not that bad. This guy can't drink that much. Everyone drinks Pepsi, everyone drinks Coke and Fanta and all these different things. But I have such a bad habit, it is affecting multiple areas of my life. It makes me feel like a really sluggish and undeveloped person. It's holding me back because 1, it's so expensive, just the amount I drink. 2, I do not want to be addicted to anything, and I talked about that in my previous videos. This is a story of relapse. And it's very, very important to me that I get this right. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing why it's come back and how I'm trying to beat it again, eliminate it from my life entirely. And that's not just Pepsi Max, it's all fizzy drinks in general, because they're all the same. They're all full of artificial sweeteners, additives, colorings, chemicals, and it just cannot be good for you. Even from just a self-improvement standpoint, I do not want to be addicted to any of this stuff and the potential physical side effects down the road. I've quit multiple times before, but the most recent time I quit, you can go back and watch these videos. They're quite early on in my YouTube career, so they're interesting, and I felt very, very good about it because I was getting a load of support and all these nice comments about people. And I was seeing the physical benefits of not drinking all of that stuff. I talk about disgusting things like gas and just burping all the time, which was a nice thing not to have. To have all these uncomfortable sensations in my body just disappear that I'd sort of gotten used to. And like I said in the intro, I stopped because I don't want to be addicted to anything. I stopped because I don't want to spend between £6 and £10 a day on Pepsi. It's just not sustainable. It's just not logical or sensible to do. And when you're trying to pay off debt, it just does not make sense. Like, why am I doing it? Some form of cola has always been in my life. And I just want to get rid of it. I don't want to be that person. And the relapse happened around the same time that I sort of tried to relaunch this YouTube channel. I became really, really stressed about a number of different things. Not just YouTube, but just my life in general. And that's where things started to slip. I wasn't paying off as much debt as I was before. I had sort of lost that momentum. I wasn't doing anything more about my health. Getting rid of Pepsi Max was pretty much the last thing I did, apart from the most recent fasting stuff, that was really monumental in terms of the health journey. Nothing else really has taken hold. And I was off Pepsi for months. When I went to Birmingham with my brother said, because we went to a pub, and he said, oh, you can have a Pepsi. I won't tell anyone. And I said, no. I had cider, so it's not much better. But it started to creep back in as I was losing energy. And I guess at that point, I was still using willpower to get me through and not be drinking it, basically, because I was getting tired and I was having a bit of a meltdown. And you may have seen it through July and August because I barely uploaded any videos. Yes, I was trying to experiment with different formats and they were taking longer, but in a way it was just an excuse to allow myself to sink back into old habits, because it was taking so much mental energy. Working 3 jobs, trying to improve everything at once, in hindsight, was probably the wrong way to go about it, because it was too much at once. And I'm not saying I shouldn't have quit Pepsi when I did, but I was also trying to do everything else at the same time. Around July time, I really started to be burnt out by the whole process, just especially by working the 3 jobs, getting up early, and through July and August it slightly started to get darker in the morning, and it was harder to wake up. I was having problems sleeping, and these things started to creep back in because I needed something, I needed something to sort of get me through it, something to look forward to. As sad as that sounds, I needed like a little pick-me-up. I do sound like an addict, and that's why I call it a relapse and an addiction, because I do feel like I am addicted to it. And some people might think that's stupid, I don't know, but there are certainly enough chemicals in that drink to make someone addicted to it. And I guess that's what they want. It's not just Pepsi, it's all these different snacks and foods that they want you to be addicted to the artificial sweeteners, the colorings, all these chemicals and additives. That's the point. They want you to keep drinking it. And I was embarrassed making that first video because it seemed like such a stupid thing to be addicted to. But I know a lot of people are. And that's why I'm making this video again, because obviously I want to reach as many people having this issue as possible, and I want to talk about what it looks like when you seemingly had it in the bag, but then it all starts to fall apart. Like, what are those triggers that causes someone, or causes me, to come back to it? And you could apply this to anything. So it could be drugs, it could be drink, it could be sex or shopping or whatever it is. These emotional triggers are what bring us to these habits in the first place, and when those emotional triggers come back again, if that's what sets them off, right? So we need to set up systems and have plans in place. So if you really are serious about getting off whatever it is you're trying to get off, we need to have a concrete plan of action of what happens when those emotional triggers come back. Because this process of self-improvement is only going to get harder. Maybe I should learn from my mistakes and try not to do everything all at once again, which is probably the wise thing to do. We do need to have systems in place that prevent us going back into old ways. Even though I'm drinking around the same as I was before, that's around 8 to 12 cans a day, maybe 4 litres if I get the 2-litre bottle. Worse in a way, because I've lost the ability I had before to sort of be okay if I didn't have it. I didn't have such a breakdown, an emotional wince when I couldn't have it. I will end up being dehydrated because I don't want to drink anything else. There's a water dispenser in the kitchen, which is, cold water. I could not be dehydrated and drink that like a sensible human being, but I don't. I tend to just sit there and wait to my lunchtime before I can go get some more. And it's a really disturbing behavioral pattern that I've fallen into. It's like, why am I doing this? I think what I've realized is that, one, I need to stop labeling it as stupid, because obviously this is a real thing. I need to stop labeling it as such so I can just focus on the solution rather than the shame or embarrassment around the particular behavior that I'm trying to fix. An additional thing I've realized is that this obviously isn't just one victory. I don't quit once and then it's done. Maybe I will eventually, but maybe it's going to take a few reps to actually get there. This is a battle that keeps testing me, and I remember the first time I quit, I was with my very first girlfriend in about 2015, so 10 years ago, and I quit for about 3 months because of something she said. Because of that emotional control that I seem to lack around Pepsi. I guess that sort of encounter with someone that you care about and some sort of criticism that was constructive, that does help. But as I said, I know what the problem is. No one needs to tell me what this problem is. As it's like every other issue I'm trying to improve. I know what the issue is because I brought it up. I'm the one trying to fix it. So the plan to quit this time is a plan with more strategy. If you watched my sofa talk video, you know I don't like excuses. And I'm so hard on myself around excuses. And I think, why can't I just why can't I just stop eating? Why can't I just stop drinking it? More awareness of how I respond to not just the drink and the addiction and the chemicals, but also to how I'm trying to quit it, cold turkey specifically, which has always been the way that I've tried to quit it before. That has always failed in some respect. I can go for a certain amount of time, even long periods of time. I think the longest I went was about 6 months. Something will happen, and then I will make excuses for myself. I'll just have one here, one there. Then you're back in it and you want more. But ultimately, this video isn't really about Pepsi. It is, but ultimately it's about not letting old habits control me, to own me. Not just even old habits, old battles. Because as I said, this is an old battle at this point. So there's a certain level of shame surrounding this. Oh, why can't you give this up? Well, obviously there's a reason, and you can make fun of yourself about it. You can sort of shame yourself even more into action or attempted action. But you've also got to be strategic about it. So if the thing isn't working, we need to come up with a better strategy to deal with said problem. Do any of you have similar problems with certain foods or certain drinks or activities? I would love to know. I think it'd be very interesting. And I would like to know if I'm not alone in this. I don't think many people were on the same page when I first made that video. They're very supportive, but I don't think many people had the same level of issue around soft drinks and fizzy drinks as me. We all have our own battles, and some might seem strange to others and some might seem more common. We will win in the end. That's it. Take care. Bye-bye.